Let's turn our attention to various different police stories. And Russell Brand is facing now a Metropolitan Police probe into multiple women making claims of sexual offences against him. Let's talk to Mike Neville. He's a former Metropolitan Police Detective Chief Inspector and joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Thanks so much for joining us. I mean, there's no doubt at all, we were expecting, I think, that women would come forward. They had 4 women came forward to Channel 4 dispatches in the Sunday Times, and then we had 1 woman who came forward. Now we know multiple women have come forward. They say, non-recent events, so years ago. But this is where things get difficult for the Met, because investigating crimes from alleged crimes from 10, 15 years ago is very hard, isn't it?
Of course it is, because if it's a recent sexual assault or rape, you'll have all sorts of DNA and clothing and possibly CCTV and other things to recover. Here, they're going to be relying on victims' accounts to see if there's any similarities. There may also be stuff on broadcast, though. That's one thing about this case. There may be that people have alleged that things have happened on television and radio, and archives may still exist of that. But of course, it's very, very difficult to backtrack 10 or 15 years and establish the actual truth of it. The closest you can get to this really is the Stuart Hall investigation, where he was initially accused of child abuse, child rape, and once it was published, several other victims came forward with very similar stories. That's how that progressed. So that's about the closest you can get to this case.
I mean, that's the thing. And when people, everyone's throwing out their views, their judgment on Russell Brand. You weren't there, I wasn't there. There's a slew of allegations. There's certainly some credible allegations. They need to be investigated. But these are alleged victims. These are alleged crimes. They are not proven in a court of law. No charges have been brought. And we need to remember that, don't we? What did you make of Caroline Dinenage, the MP who is chair of the Culture Select Committee, writing a letter to major social media organisations, including Rumble, where Russell Brand hosts his, and YouTube as well, is basically saying, why are you allowing Russell Brand to continue to monetise what he has to say? I mean, she's acting as sort of judge, jury and executioner, isn't she?
Well, it's not only that, Julia, it's also the Attorney General, Victoria Prentice, sending a letter to or warning editors about contempt of court when there's no charges or arrests been made. So this involvement of the government in this, it really does add fuel to the fire. When Russell Brand went on the Rumble last night to say that it's all a conspiracy theory, conspiracy against me. And so I don't know how this is playing out, that people are getting so actively involved, because, as you say, the man, unpleasant as I think he is, may well be innocent. And why are we stopping somebody earning money when they've never been found guilty of a crime yet?
Or even been charged with a crime. Well, let's have a little listen and watch what comedian Russell Brand did actually have to say after his YouTube channel was demonetised, and talking on Rumble. It was a bit like rambling, rather more rambling than he normally is, a little message that he sent to those who've been supporting him last night.
Today, of course, we're talking about events of the last week, but in particular, the collusion between big tech and government, and an apparent concerted effort by legacy media and now the state and big tech to silence independent media voices. Obviously, it's difficult for me to be entirely objective given the events of the last week, but that is what we must try to do.
Well, this is basically a conspiracy to silence independent media voices. Do you think it is, Mike Neville?
I don't know, and I wouldn't want to. I'm no expert on conspiracies to silence people, but it just seems very, very odd that the 2 government departments are sort of sticking their oars in far too early, in my view. Let's see what the police have to do. Let's get the police investigating this crime. They've got some expertise of this, of dealing with several other historical sex crimes like Rolf Harris and the like. And so let's see what happens there. Once the man has been arrested, if he ever is arrested, if he ever is charged, then these matters can come forward.
I'm just amazed that people, including MPs and ministers, haven't learnt the lessons of, the likes of Paul Gambaccini, Cliff Richard and many others, where, no crime had been committed, nothing proven, and yet people, were rushing to judgment. Can I also ask you about the rushing to judgment of armed police officers as well? We saw 10% of Metropolitan Sergeant Armed Police officers down their weapons, give back their licence, and say, we will not be willing to go out on duty and follow our training and risk shooting somebody and then risk being charged with murder. This after an officer was charged with a murder, the shooting of Chris Cabot in September in South London last year. There's now a Home Office review. We know there's support very much from Mark Rowley, the Met Chief, and indeed Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, for police officers, both writing open letters and tweets about this. But basically, the Home Office review is now looking into maybe time limits on criminal and civil investigations into officers who shoot suspects, a possible higher threshold for charging and the like. What do you make of those possibilities? Would that make a difference?
Firstly, can I say I support the officers wholeheartedly. They go on duty, carrying a weapon, have to make split-second decisions that barristers and lawyers and the IOPC then take years to pore over and decide whether something made in a second was malice aforethought, which is the critical thing for murder. And how can you have malice aforethought in a split second? I don't know. And so I support the officers in their stance. There must be something. I support the Home Secretary. I think she said the right things. The review is absolutely necessary. Surgeons, for example, make mistakes during operations and people die. This is what happens when you're dealing with death.
Yeah, most of us, if we make a mistake at work, don't end up with someone dying. But we don't.
Absolutely.
We don't have to live with those.
These officers absolutely, protect us, and we need to protect them.
Mike Neville, couldn't agree with you more. Former Metropolitan Police Detective, Chief Inspector. Thank you for that.